Hello folks, this is Eko. In this video, I'll cover the most recent Alpha 20 gameplay footage from the Fun Pimps developer team. Out of that 3 hours, I'll try to get you down to under 10 minutes and get you the highlights that I pulled from it. As always, if you enjoy the content, a like and subscribe would be greatly appreciated. But even more important, check out the links below because I'm doing a 24-hour charity stream this weekend, November 6th, for Extra Life. The last 12 hours I'll be playing on my 7 Days to Die community server, and I'd love to have you join me. Links below. So the first topic I want to talk about is performance. I've seen a lot of chatter in the community about this. There's a lot of concerns that, hey, with all this shiny new stuff, am I even going to be able to play Alpha 20? So in the gameplay footage here, we have the first instance of them actually showing the frames per second, FPS. I will caveat that we have one huge missing variable and that we don't know the hardware that both Lathan and the developer talking about frame rates are currently running.
Now we have to keep in mind he has his game set on Ultra last time I saw, and you know I
and I'm streaming.
Yes,
so
and he's streaming. I suggest you don't play the game on Ultra because that's pretty demanding. Yeah. I run on high, and I'm currently getting a nice 80 FPS. So many people have wondered, do all our whiz-bang changes for Alpha 20, will it equal slower, worse performance? And generally, no. It'll maybe a little slower in certain cases, but generally it's about the same.
Would you say the performance is better than A19?
It's better in some aspects and worse in others.
So I wanted to highlight that FPS indicator early on because you can watch throughout the rest of the coverage that I do here and kind of see in different scenarios how Lathan's fluctuates up and down. There's a lot of scenarios where he's hovering in the 20s. Now he is running ultra settings, so mileage may vary. Speaking of which, here's a quick snapshot of the settings that he's running with so you kind of have a sense. He was running 1080 on this and then with a bunch of ultra and high settings. There was another good question that came in from the chat in regards to Alpha 20 and low-end PCs.
What about the game performance on a low-end PC? It should basically be low, middle, high, whatever. It should generally run pretty similar to what you were getting before. With the exception of cities. If you're in downtown, in the big cities, there are more blocks around you than there were at 19, and your frame rate probably will be somewhat worse. But I mean, there is a solution to that. Don't hang out in the big cities. Turn your settings down when you're in the big cities.
So I'm not going to lie, I'm a little disappointed by that response. I find it kind of a hard pill to swallow to introduce all these new features and then tell your user base that the answer is just to not use those features or to turn the settings down. Now that being said, I do believe there needs to have some balance from the community as well. It's unrealistic to expect a graphics card that's 5 to 10 years old to operate optimally in Alpha 20. At the same time, I was really hoping for a little bit more focus on performance. I'm running a pretty beefy PC and I still have to turn the settings down quite a bit when it gets to the heavy Horde Knights. After watching the first 2 gameplays with the Fun Pimps, I was really disappointed that they didn't dig into all these new shapes that they have to offer. Rick and Joel went so far as to build a base out of just straight blocks and stairs and didn't utilize any of the new tools that they'd thrown in there. So in this playthrough, we didn't get to see any grand base designs or things like that, but I did appreciate getting to watch Lathan kind of slowly move through the menus here and just see really what is available to play with. There were a couple things in here that really stood out to me as you're looking at the different pieces here. A lot of these are actually combination pieces. If you see where Lathan is hovering now, these are pieces of a clock that are meant to go in separate blocks to create a large composition. And there's a lot of other parts that seem to work together in this same fashion. The other thing we really don't know is how these are going to operate with the zombie AI. My hope is that this really gives us a new way to approach horde-based design.
Is it bad that it's kind of overwhelming how many shapes there are now? Where I'm just like, I don't even know what to do with myself? Is that bad, everybody?
No, Lathan, that is fantastic. So here's an example of one of those multi-part compositions that I was talking about before, where you can take the clock and it's actually got a 3x3 square. This is just going to be a crazy heyday for all of the POI builders out there. So I'm super excited about it, both from a POI perspective as well as a base design and aesthetic perspective. Next up, we got our first onstage appearance of the zombie dog. I'm going to rapidly go through a number of the new assets and things that we saw for the first time in this stream. So in line with that, here's one of the first really good reviews we've seen of the burnt zombie. We've seen him before, but kind of just at a glance. I think he'll make a good addition to our lovely zombie family. Speaking of family, they haven't implemented a minivan, but we do have a new extended seating mod for the 4x4. We knew this one was in Alpha 20, but this is the first time we've actually got to see it being used. So you can see the third and fourth person just hop in the back, just like we've teleported right back to the 80s. For those of you who still weren't born then, it was a great time. Mostly. Next up, you'll get to see a look at the new shutters we'll be able to build, and Lathan did confirm that these will be available to be used in advanced rotation, so you can put these on the floor as well. In one of the previous dev streams, they talked about having these in a double door configuration, and that would be incredible, similar to what you saw in the cellar doors, but upright. I do like the look of these as an alternative to hatches for areas that you want to just open temporarily to shoot out and then close back up. Much like the new blocks, just gives us some more options for creativity. So lastly, let's talk about their progress against the defects, the Alpha 20 release, given those defects, and then just a quick nugget on console. Starting with this arbitrary footage of Lathan running over a zombie back and forth, I'll use this as a metaphor for the defect situation.
See, the thing is, we have these things called bugs, and we currently have highest priority bugs and high priority bugs. And pretty much we want all those fixed before we release Alpha 20 Experimental, and currently there's around 30 some of those two types of bugs. So, you know, and bugs usually take, typically it takes about a day per bug, but of course, you know, it's not one person fixing all those bugs, it's spread across 10 different people, so it just kind of depends. There's no way for us to predict because every time we fix bugs, often new ones get added.
Yeah.
It's a race. It's an arms race against the bugs.
We would definitely love to release as soon as possible.
So I'm no mathematician, but what I heard, there were 30 critical bugs that they can fix about 1 a day per person. They've got 10 people working. That's 10 bugs a day. We should be done in 3 days, right? Well, kind of. I know a ton of people who probably heard that exact same thought process, and that's just not the way software development works. It's not uncommon to put in a bug fix and then find out that you've just broken something else, or that wasn't actually the root cause of the situation. So all that back and forth between the developers still leaves me in the same position of thinking end of November is the earliest that we are going to see Alpha 20. So I'll close this out with some console commentary from the fun pimps. But before I do, please subscribe, drop a like, come join me on the community server. We're going to have an amazing time with Extra Life this weekend, and I hope to see you there. So as per usual, there were a ton of questions on console updates on the stream. This was just one of the more colorful responses.
No update on console, as you are getting spammed in chat 27 times. No console for you. Someday there might be an update to console, but not right now.
So this probably could have been framed in a more empathetic fashion. Honestly, I feel for the console folks there, and I really hope that they get it up on console as soon as possible, because it's just going to make the community more vibrant and whole. I will also say that I find it unlikely that the developers have a line of sight to what the plans are for console. Based off the first dev stream, Rick had indicated that they're working with external companies that would do the port once the gold version is in place. So gate 1 is get the gold version, which they're targeting for next year. So 2023 would be the earliest I still think that we'd see a console version drop. So that's it for this video, folks. If you have the means, please consider donating to Extra Life. Links are below. It's an amazing charity where us gamers get to give back to the community. Additionally, if you want to join the team and help raise fund, I've got links below to the Eko Brigade where we're trying to hit $10,000. And if you don't have the means, just come join and chat on stream. It'll be a good time. I'm going to be doing a ton of giveaways and all kinds of stuff. See you on Saturday. Eko's out.